Aloha, Hawaiian, and welcome to Hawaii. So tonight we're dining, well, I say traditional. This is a Hawaiian dish. Normally when we say traditional, this is a dish that may go back centuries, but no, this isn't a Polynesian dish or anything like that. This is quite a modern Hawaiian dish. Okay, tonight we're going to have Loco Moco. So for tonight, you're going to want the following ingredients. You're going to want some rice. Now I've rinsed off some rice, got the water measured out. I'm going to put it in the microwave cooker, but we'll do that in a bit. Okay. Then the next thing you're going to want is some beef mince. Okay. And we're going to make some hamburgers. Okay. Well, we call them hamburgers, they're made out of beef, but anyway. So you're going to want the beef for that. You're going to want about a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, 1.5 teaspoons of salt. If you've got some garlic powder, you could chuck a teaspoon of that in. I haven't got any, or if I did have, I don't know where it is. Half a teaspoon of black pepper. Okay. You're going to want to make up some gravy, and in that gravy, and these two things are optional. We don't have to put these in. We're going to put some sliced onions, some fried sliced onions, and some sort of fried up mushrooms. But those two are actually optional. Okay. And we're going to make a gravy that they're going to go in, which is a beef stock, 4 teaspoons of soy sauce. That's right. A teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce, 2 teaspoons of ketchup, and 5 teaspoons of corn flour. And then you're going to want some eggs, because we're going to fry some eggs. And then there's a little bit of garnish, some more black pepper, and some chopped chives. So, did I mention onion? Oh yeah, no, I don't think I mentioned. Yes, I did. It says sliced onion and mushrooms there. So, this is going to be a relatively popular dish, Loco Moco. Now, I'll tell you a little story about Loco Moco in a bit. But what we're going to do is we're going to start by forming up our burgers and cooking them off, and then keeping them warm while we do the next bit. Right, I don't want to get this in there anything, so I'm just going to push it back a bit. All right. So into my bowl, I'm going to want to put my mince. Okay, nice lean mince, and then to that we're going to add the tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. Okay, that was it. Tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. The salt. Okay, teaspoon and a half of salt, and the garlic powder if you had it, and black pepper. Okay. Is that everything for that? Yep. So what we're going to do is we're now just going to mix that all together by hand. Okay. And then when we're happy they're all mixed up, we're going to form some burgers out of this. Okay. Now this is going to be served on a bed of rice. Okay. Coated in the gravy, topped up with a fried egg. Bit of a weird combination, you might think, for Hawaii. Okay, but we'll come to that. We'll come to that. So I'm just going to make sure this is all thoroughly mixed in, and then we'll get the burgers formed. Okay, so I'm going to divide up that meat into 4. Okay, and I'm just going to form a nice round ball. Okay, put on my foot, and we're just going to make quite a thick burger. Okay, so like I said, we're going to make about 4 of them. Okay, you could just make yourself one big one, well, it's not one big one, two big ones if you want. But we're going to make 4, okay? So, how come this is a Hawaiian dish? Well, actually, it was sort of invented in 1949, okay? So when I say it's not like a traditional one, okay, but it is something that is quite often eaten in Hawaii when you go. You know, it's something you'll find served everywhere now. If you're Portuguese, you might not fancy Loco Moco, right? So, my little Brazilian friend, if you're watching this, you could probably tell me why. Right, so I'm just going to wash my hands up, okay, and get the meat off my foot. Okay, so, yeah, a bit better than that. I'll put the pan on. Now, I'm going to be cooking in this because I'm going to cook the burgers in here, move the burgers, and we are then going to do the gravy in here. Okay, so we get any bits that from the burger, any bit of flavour in the gravy. Gravy. So while that comes up to heat, where's this Loco Moco come from then? Well, Loco Moco was from a group of teenagers from a local sports club who were eating, or went into one of the restaurants in Hawaii, the Lincoln Grill, and they said, we'd like something sort of familiar but different, okay? They said, we want something like a sandwich, you know, like a burger, but it's got to be cheap, and it wants to be something that, you know, we ain't going to sit here all night waiting for you to do. You can prepare it and serve it up fairly quickly. And they said, righto, what we'll have some rice in a bowl, and then we'll have a burger on top of that. I mean, I don't know if they were a bit pissed at the time, but they said we'll have a burger on top of that, and then we'd like some brown gravy poured all over the top. Now later, that was the original Loco Moco, but later they started incorporating a fried egg on top. Okay, so we're doing the fried egg version. Okay, so they said, can you make us something like that? Which they did, and then they said we better give it a name. So they had a mate George, actually, they had a couple of mates George, but they had one mate George who was known as Crazy George, Loco George. Okay, loco being the word for crazy. So they said, we'll call it Loco. And they go, yeah, but Loco on its own is not good enough. We need another name to go with it. And so, and this is why I think they might have had a few beers or some winers. They said, I know, let's have a catchy name that goes with Loco. Why don't we call it Loco Moco? And that's where the name comes from. So, Loco Moco was born, and now you can get it all over Hawaii, as far as I know. It's become sort of quite a familiar dish. Most people will try a Loco Moco. And I mentioned about Portuguese. So my little Brazilian friend, why don't you fancy a Loco Moco? Well, you can't ask me because you're not here, are you? Well, apparently in Portuguese, Loco means crazy, Moco means mucus. So when you say, oh, can you give me some Loco Moco, please? You're basically saying, can you give me some crazy snot, please? Not that I'm trying to put you off this. Right, so my oil is just coming up to temperature. So I'm now just going to fry off my burgers, okay? And when they've sort of cooked, we'll flip them. Okay, so while they're frying, I'm going to take an onion and I'm just going to thinly slice it. Okay, probably only need half an onion, but might as well use the whole thing, got it here. And then I think that'll do. And then the other thing you're going to want are some mushrooms. So we're then just going to slice some mushrooms up. Okay, like I say, the mushrooms and the onions are optional. You don't have to have it. The original Loco Moco didn't necessarily, it was just a gravy as far as we know. So obviously, like I said, this isn't like a traditional Polynesian or proper Hawaiian dish, but it's a very popular one, I believe. And I happened to mention it to my wife, and she says, oh yeah, I was surprised with it. And she said, we'll have it for our Valentine's meal. Well, it's not Valentine's Day today, it's tomorrow, isn't it? But we're sort of having this as our Valentine's meal. Loco Moco for Valentine's. So, my onions are sliced, my mushrooms are sliced. I'll chop the chives a bit later. I'm just going to carry on cooking these through before I flip them. The old wine is getting a bit low. Let's top it up. Okay, so them burgers are done. So I'm just going to transfer them onto a baking tray. I'm going to put them on a bit of kitchen towel to help drain off some of that fat. And that's going to just go in the oven just to keep that warm. Okay. Now, I'm also at this point going to put my rice, which I've added the rinsed rice and water, into my micro cooker, and that's going to go in there for 15 minutes. Okay, and then we're going to start on the gravy. Okay, so I've taken the burgers out, left the oil in there. We're going to put 1 tablespoon of that butter into there. Okay, and melt that down. Wow, forgot that bloody aluminium pan gets on. Just going to melt that down. Okay, and then the first thing we're going to do is, I mean, you could do all these separately. You could do the burger in one pan, you could do the gravy in another pan, you could do your onions and your mushrooms in another pan. What's the point, right? At the end of the day, load of washing up, plus ultimately you want to pick up all them bits and all that flavour. So I'm going to put the butter in there, and now as it's melted we're going to chuck in the onion, and we're going to fry off the onion for a little bit first, for a few minutes. Okay, turn it up a little bit, and we'll get that partly cooked, and then we'll add in the mushrooms, right? So watch that sat a minute. Wife's down now, she's out the bath. She's all dressed Hawaiian style. She's got a garland on. Is it Leia? Can't remember. But anyway, she's all ready to go. She's got her sunnies on. I was going to put mine on, but then I thought I probably won't see what I'm doing. I did notice, because for some of you don't see the individual ones of these, you just see the final thing on YouTube. But I normally post these as I go, each episode, and I have to say, my little Brazilian friend, I'm very disappointed. I gave you a mention, I didn't mention your name, so I thought you might get upset, but I noticed you haven't commented that I mentioned you. Very disappointed, mentioned twice. But now I've just mentioned your free time. You know, you haven't commented. So anyway, we're just going to leave these to fry off a bit more, right? Get off. Get in there. The onions. Okay, so they've been cooking for a few minutes. So now we're going to put in them mushrooms. Okay. I mean, I like the onions. I like the mushroom, particularly like the mushrooms. Probably an excessive amount in here for, you know, for your Loco Moco, but who cares? I don't. So, just going to toss these through. Get the tossing in. Unless you're a dwarf, you don't mention the tossing dwarves. Right. That's a Lord of the Rings reference. Well, actually, think about it. strictly speaking, it's not a Lord of the Rings reference. It's in the film. It's not in the book. I'm pretty sure it's in the book. A bit like a few other things that's in them films. Not I'm dissing the films. But I do have issues with some of the things they do in a film that shouldn't be, or should be. I mean, what's this bloody Arwen turning up in right at the beginning? Don't bloody see Arwen unless you read the appendix. Oh no, told a lie, she meant she does appear at the very end when old Aragorn gets married. If you actually want to know any more about it, other than the fact he's just married this old tart you never heard of, you have to read the appendix and then you find out all the backstory. So, and there's certainly no mention of her turning up now with Frodo and saving Frodo. Anyway, we're digressing now. We should be talking about Hawaii. Okay? Black sand. In Hawaii, black sand. Volcanic rock. A bit like my Mortal Pestle, isn't it? Anyway, I'm just going to carry on cooking these through for a bit. And then we'll start assembling the gravy. Right, so while we're just waiting on that just to cook a little bit longer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop up the chives. Okay, like I say, this is just a bit of a garnish. You could use spring onions. The recipe said we'll put green onions, but when you looked at it, it looked like it was either chives or the stalks of spring onions, but we're going to have some chives on ours. Okay, so they're chopped ready to go. So let's start, now that this is just about there, we're going to start making up our gravy. Now I'm going to leave these in. Okay, you could take this out and then make the gravy and put them back in afterwards. What's the point? Right, so first up, in goes soy sauce, Worcestershire sauce, the ketchup, okay, just going to give that a mix through, and then in goes the corn flour. Oh, it goes everywhere. Okay, just give that a mix through. I'll just move that on a little bit, and then we've got about 350 ml of beef stock. Okay, so in that goes. So now all we're going to do is we're going to heat that through. Okay, picking up all them lovely bits of flavouring, deglaze the pan. Okay, and we're just going to cook that through, obviously to cook out the corn flour and also to obviously thicken it up. All right. I've got some butter, but we will add the butter in once that's got up to temperature. Okay, so we're just going to keep giving that the odd little whisk, okay, to start cooking that through. It's not quite up to temperature yet, it's not boiling yet. The rice is all cooked, so we're just going to let that cool a minute. So let's warm this out and open the basket like we did last time. Okay, and then you're going to want, when we come to start assembling it, I know we've still got to fry the eggs yet, you really would be better with something with a little bit like a bowl, all right? Because obviously we're pouring gravy onto it. So got them ready. Top me wine up. Sorry, me wine up. We're having tonight Honor Grinds, or Honor Grinds, which means delicious foods apparently. Probably don't pronounce it right. They said that's how you pronounce it, but I don't know. So, did think about getting some coconuts, but I'm not sure you're getting coconuts this year, time of year. And we'll have a cocktail at coconut, but didn't think I'd get any. Still in bloody lockdown. Still relying on Tesco's. What did they substitute today? Or not today, yesterday. Can't remember now. You do a couple of subs. Oh yeah, one we don't have the cherry tomato. I don't eat them, but the wife ordered them for cherry tomatoes. So we've supplied you with cherry tomatoes, and you've got 40 grams extra. Then what was the other thing? Oh yeah, the wine. She likes her pecorino. Sorry, we've had to substitute it. Now I was waiting for a bottle of olive oil or something like that. Know what they're like. Oh no, sorry, that was Morrison's, wasn't it? Was it Morrison's? Can't remember now. Or was it Waitrose? I can't remember. No, they gave us Pinot Grigio instead, we still, I suppose. So, I'm still waiting for this to cook through and thicken up a bit. Rice is done, burgers are keeping warm. So as soon as this is starting to thicken, we'll just put this on a back burner and we'll fry up some eggs. Okay, so this is starting to darken and thicken up as we start to cook that corn flour. Thing is with using corn flour, okay, it is really like I think a cheats way of getting a nice thicker sauce and thicker gravy. But if you don't cook it through, I mean, we're saying we're putting flour in to thicken the sauce. If you don't cook it through, you can still sort of taste it. And I always remember the old curries where it was like you put corn flour in, well I didn't, but you put corn flour in and it never really got cooked through properly and you could still taste, you know, it had that, I don't know what kind of taste it's had, okay. It's the same really when you make a sauce, with flour in. You need to make sure you've cooked it all through. Otherwise, you do get that sort of floury taste. So this is thickening up nicely. Okay, so I'm going to move this to a little back burner where it can just keep warm, and then we'll get the frying pan out and we'll start doing the eggs. Actually, before we do the eggs, I think we might get the rice ready. Okay, so I've got my rice cooked. Now just to keep it a little bit neater, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use these, I don't know what you call them, egg rings or whatever. All right, just to try and keep a little bit of shape to the rice. Okay, they're probably a little bit smaller than the burger. Basically, you want your rice to be about the same size as your burger. Okay. Ooh. Pick one up. Okay. So just have a little bit more there. Get it off. Oh, this mess I'm making on this plate. So there is our rice done. So I'm just going to put that to one side and we'll start doing our eggs. Right, so I'm going to start by putting some butter into the pan, okay, into the frying pan, and heating it up, and then we're going to cook 2 fried eggs. Now, because I don't want them to like everywhere, I want them to try and keep nice and small so they sort of fit on top of the burger. I'm going to use these egg rings, some cheap things I've got off Amazon. I think it came as a pack of 5 for some weird reason, and one of which the handle wasn't even welded on it, fallen off. And they're not the greatest of things, but they will at least help keep the egg fairly round so we can cook them that way. Bit itchy, I think. And then, like I say, the burger's keeping warm, the gravy's keeping warm, the chives are chopped, got my pepper ready to grind. So we're just about there as soon as the eggs are fried. Well, actually, no, it's not ready to say that. I've got a Hawaiian phrase to say when we finish, but we're not actually finished, are we? So I'm just going to let this butter melt, and then we'll do the eggs. Right, I'll put my egg thingies in there. Okay, crack my eggs into each one. Work. Break the yolk on that one. Never mind. So, you see they even leak out the bottom of that thing. So crap these things are. So we're just going to let these eggs cook. Okay. And just give me a little gravy, a little stir, make sure it's all right. So, just waiting on the eggs. Right, I've just flipped my eggs because I've done any of them things, they're quite thick and so the tops won't cook in. So, next thing is we get our burgers out. Okay, so I've got my bed of rice done. And now, what we're going to do is we're going to take our burger and we're going to plonk it on top of our rice. Now, we've actually got 4 burgers, so actually what I might do rather than do it like that, I'm gonna put it side by side, okay? Because otherwise you can guarantee it's going to fall over. Okay, so we're just going to stack that like that. Get rid of that dirty paper. So we then take our gravy, give it a final stir. And we're now going to we're now going to spoon some of that gravy over the top of the burgers and the rice. Okay. And then finally, well not finally, but then we turn the heat off of them eggs and we lay an egg on top of each one. We then give it a little bit of pepper and then we give it a little dash of chopped chives, and there is your Hawaiian Loco Moco. Now I'm not going to taste this because it's Valentine's night, well it's tomorrow, so we're going to go and taste it together. But there you go, Loco Moco.